This is the CVLife EagleVanta, a 1:6 power LPVO that has, in their words, ultra-high definition glass for extreme clarity. So do you want to see me test this and find out what that means? Well, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button and we'll get started. I won't do a boring unboxing video. Instead, let's just take a look at the contents of the box. This is the CVLife EagleVanta, continuing CVLife's trend of using animal names in their products like eagle, wolf, bear, hawk. And the eagle seems to be perhaps their top of the line because this scope looks a little bit higher quality in terms of its build quality and fit and finish. It's a pretty nice looking LPVO. Now this has a 1:6 magnification with a 24mm objective lens. It is a second focal plane reticle and with a bullet drop compensated reticle, and it is illuminated. It comes with two 2032 coin batteries. It fit under the illumination or rheostat turret with 6 levels of illumination with an off in between each of the power settings or the intensity settings, and it does index audibly and tactile positive. And let's take a look at these adjustment turrets. And they are user resettable. You just unscrew the middle screw there with a coin or flathead. Let's take a listen. Not too loud, pretty quiet, but they are tactile positive, and they are a half an MOA per click with no slop in between each of the clicks. And let's take a listen to our windage. Oh, louder, tactile positive. No slop in between each of the clicks, and again, these are resettable at half an MOA per click. Let's take a listen to our magnification ring. Okay, that turns pretty smoothly. And it does come with a throw lever, though obviously you don't really need it, other than if you have wet hands or cold hands with gloves. And our diopter, ocular focus, turns smoothly, and it does have a nice little rubberized ring to help protect you from scope bite from high recoil. And though this does have a pretty generous eye relief, and it does have a little indication nub or tooth there to help you identify how many turns and where you've placed your diopter. So that's a nice little feature. Seen that in some higher end European scopes. So yeah, that's nice. Overall, quite a nice scope. And by the way, it does come with its own mount, and it's not a bad looking mount in terms of overall build quality. And it does come with recoil lugs, and it tells you how many inch-pounds to apply to the screws. So yeah, we'll get this mounted up and we'll test it out. We are looking through the scope at 1 power to get our best overall view through the glass. And as I move this around, we're looking for any distortions around the outer edges, that kind of fisheye effect that you get with lower quality budget LPVOs, but I'm not seeing that. And in fact, as I bring these trucks in and out of the scope view, they're the same size as they are in the real world as they are inside of the scope. So that just says that 1 is 1. And if we look at the telephone pole there at the very right edge of our scope image, that's pretty straight. So the overall image here is pretty flat, really good. Now, this is also a good opportunity to check our illumination. I've got it set at 6, which is its maximum. And as I move this around, you can see that it is daylight bright. Even when I have it up against the sunlit sky there, that is quite visible. And even in a complicated mixed background, that reticle stands out quite clearly. So this is a daylight bright reticle. Now I'm going to lock this off and aim at the top of the hill there. That's Mount Davidson, approximately 1,500 yards away. And I'm going to turn off our illumination. I'm going to bring up our magnification halfway to 3 power. And let's take a look at that image. Pretty darn good. I mean, it is a very hazy day today. So what you're seeing through the glass here is the real world, as I'm seeing it with my naked eye. It is a very hazy day. So you're not seeing a lot of contrast, but that's because of the atmospheric haze. Now let's bring up our magnification all the way to 6 power to its maximum. And despite the haze, I can clearly make out the trail marker sign at the top of the hill That is that white object peeking up among the trees at the bottom of the trunks there, to the right of the horseshoe center of the crosshairs there. And yeah, that is a 3-foot-ish sign, which is a good proxy for an IPSC target at this distance, and that just says how clear this glass is, that despite the haze, you can still see that trail marker. We're looking through the EagleVanta at 1 power at our target board's downrange at 100 yards. The overall image is bright and clean and very flat. You can see all of the lines in the baffles and the columns are straight. Now let's bring up our magnification all the way to its maximum of 6 power and take a look at that target board there. See a little bit of chromatic aberration in high contrast areas. That's to be expected at high power, and some of that is coming from the camera itself. But this is a good opportunity to check our range of adjustments while we're here, starting with our elevation, see where this tops off. Wow, okay. That's pretty high. We don't even see the original target board. That's the very top. And we didn't see any darkening of the top edge, which would be the edge of the eye box. So this actually confirms that this scope has a pretty decent eye box. All right. And we've gotten so much range of adjustments on my hand's actually starting to cramp up. I'm going to switch hands here. All right. Let's see where we bottom out here. And we've already passed the target board. Okay. So that is the very bottom. No dead clicks. So let's bring this back to center. It's taking a while, right? A lot of clicks. Okay, let's get this back to 0. Now let's check our windage. See if it goes nearly as far. Yeah, we're already past the view of the target. So that is the very rightmost. Quite a bit of adjustments. All right, that is the very leftmost. And again, I didn't see any darkening around either edges, so that just says something about the eye box. All right, let's get this back to 0 on the turret. All right. Now let's check our turret's tracking in the box test here. Let me just do a full rotation on our elevation and a full rotation on the turret for our windage. And now back, a full rotation, and back on our windage. And we're right back where we started, so that's pretty good. Well, let's move up to the 50-yard line and get a closer look at that reference target board. We are at 50 yards now, and we're taking a look at the same target board, and I've got it up to 6 power here. And overall, I can see really good color balance, but also a fair bit of chromatic aberration, and it's affecting overall sharpness and detail. The grid target on the top right, the grid lines are very faint, and on the paper target on the bottom left, you can see the reactive sticker target in the center, but there are 2 tiny 22 caliber holes below that. They're very faint with my naked eye and really hard to make out here with the camera footage. And on the resolution chart on the bottom right, I can make out both horizontal and vertical lines only down to element 6 and group -2. All right, before we get into what I think of this LPVO, I want to remind you to hit that like button and the subscribe button and notification bell buttons right now before this video ends. And as an extra incentive, if you are a subscriber and you are hitting that notification bell buttons, well, you'll be notified when I post up details of the free contest to win one of these LPVOs. CVLife is giving one away and letting me pick the winner from among my viewers. So yeah, be a subscriber. Now, I want to thank CVLife for, giving the prize away for that contest, as well as for sending me a sample of the EagleVanta. Now, they have a lot of animal names in their product line: eagles, wolves, hawks, oh my. But what you're looking for is the EagleVanta, because I think this is possibly the most ideal LPVO in their entire lineup. Now, yeah, there are better LPVOs out there, more bells and whistles, more features, sharper, clearer, but they are way more expensive. This is a very affordable scope and really checks all the boxes that I'm looking for. It's a 1:6, which generally has a better eye box than a 1:8 and 1:10. And it is a second focal plane, which I prefer in an LPVO because I want that reticle to stay consistent and I want it to be visible. I don't want it to get thinner as it goes to 1 power. I want it to be nice and visible at 1 power. And also, that reticle is daylight bright. I can see it during daylight hours. And I like the configuration of the reticle. It is very simple, very clean, and very easy to stay on target with. Though I wish the horseshoe was a little bit smaller, but it's perfectly fine. And though I don't understand why there are gaps in the arch. Perhaps there's a good reason for that, or maybe they just need to get around trademark issues. Leave me a comment if you have a reason for why there would be gaps in the reticle and what you think of the reticle and the scope overall. And if you are interested in learning more about the scope and where you can get it, go check out my full written review at moondogindustries.com. You'll find a link to that article in the video description. So thanks for taking the time to read that article, and thanks for taking the time to watch this video. God bless. Moondog out. Hey, I'd like to know what you thought of this video. Leave me a comment or chat with me on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, MeWe, Instagram, or Locals. And if you want to see all of my videos, go to moondogindustries.com.